Hey guys, back to talk about Hunter Avalon, our favourite right-winger turned left-winger. Hunter, by the way, is such a great name for him, because he definitely gives off Predator vibes.
Am I a black man if I say I'm a black man? Oh no.
How is that any less ridiculous than what's happening in the trans movement? Biological males joining the sports teams of biological females? If anything, race has less implications than sex.
This is also featuring Riley Gaines, who I definitely have heard her name pretty frequently now in the conservative space. I'm pretty sure that she is a female athlete who lost to a trans person, and now she's either a really sore loser or she believes really strongly in keeping trans people out of sports.
Who cares if they have a biological advantage? Sure, why do we stop there? Why don't we let adults compete against children? And if any of the children complain about getting beat up by an adult, they're just sore losers. And this biological female who was beaten up by a biological male to the point of having her skull cracked, she's just a sore loser.
Board certified endocrinologist who went over all the things that separate men from women, which should exclude them from competing in combat sports against women. And this woman was called a transphobe, and I mean, she's a fucking endocrinologist, you idiot. She's talking about the science.
Endocrinologist, biologist, these are all just fancy synonyms for transphobe. It's funny how he's so dismissive of this woman's opinion.
But yeah, Democrats do tend to be more compassionate at the end of the day, just truthfully, because of what you said. They tend to have more feelings in general.
We're so compassionate, we're so kind. Unless you care about women being treated fairly. In that case, just shut up and stop complaining.
It's not that these concerns that Riley raises aren't important, or that women's safety isn't important. All of that is important. And what happened to Riley, it's an important story that we should listen to.
Jesus. Even this crazy far leftist has more sense than Hunter. How far has Hunter fallen?
You don't even know what woke means.
He was like, you can't even tell me what woke means, you fucking idiots.
I really hate this talking point from the left. It stems from this clip.
And probably fewer of them consider themselves to be woke. And so, you know, when we talk about traditional...
What does that mean to you? Would you mind defining woke? Because it's come up a couple times and I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
So, I mean, woke is sort of the idea that
Ugh. It is pretty painful. And if you're writing a book on the topic, you should probably have a definition at hand. But now all of these wokester idiots think it's funny and it's a gotcha to ask for a definition. But this is stupid. Because there are lots of words that are hard to define, but we use them all the time and understand each other on sort of I know it when I see it kind of basis. For example, we all know what a nerd is. We can picture one, we know one when we see one, but if I asked you to actually define it, it's quite difficult. Even looking at the definition that Google offers, a person who is extremely enthusiastic and knowledgeable about a particular subject, that doesn't seem very accurate.
Anyone you don't agree with woke or extreme or lefty.
Yeah, literally. Wait, really? What's her name again? Riley Gaines. I am going to find a post or something of Riley Gaines saying woke right now.
This is an example of Hunter just being too stupid to keep up with the conversation. She said, "You're the only one who said it this entire time." Not that she's never used the word. The obvious point being, it's immaterial to the conversation.
Is saying that men can identify as women, and lesbians who don't want to date these men who identify as women. That is homophobic. You are using lesbians as your political pawn.
Is she saying that, like, some lefty somewhere is suggesting that if there is a lesbian, meaning her sexual orientation is she's attracted to other females, that if there's now a biological male that says they identify as a woman, that the lesbian should now be willing to, like, be with the biological male who identifies as a woman? There are biological preferences there when we're talking about being gay, being lesbian, being straight. No one is saying that these biological preferences cease to exist or you must completely ignore them to somehow be inclusive.
Yeah, No one on the left is saying that. That would be insane. Except...
If you're heterosexual and you're a man and you said you wouldn't date a trans woman because it's a preference, that's just transphobia.
Congrats, Hunter. You're transphobic as well.
If you're cis and you won't date trans folks, you're transphobe.
Refusing to date transgender folks because they are transgender is a form of transphobia.
If you say you wouldn't date a trans woman, you are transphobic. Trans women are women.
Personally, I think that if someone already found you attractive, but then all of a sudden lost all interest in you because they found out that you're trans, I think that is transphobic.
Let's say that you're attracted to women. Well, if you're attracted to women, then you're attracted to cis women, trans women without bottom surgery, and trans women with bottom surgery. If you're attracted to VJ, then you could be attracted to a cis woman, a trans man without bottom surgery, a trans woman with bottom surgery, or a non-binary person, which, depending on their assigned gender at birth, having or not having had the surgery. But it is that exclusion that makes it transphobic.
Or that controversy on Big Brother, where this man refused to be kissed by a trans woman.
Go out with another woman.
Would I go out with a woman?
You would go out with a woman.
Yes, of course.
But you wouldn't go out with a transsexual woman.
No.
I'm a woman, right?
Okay.
Forget about any T's or anything in front of it. I'm just a woman, okay? So on that score, you would date me, wouldn't you?
Not if you told me you was trans.
No, I'm not telling you I'm trans. I'm a woman.
A woman,
you would,
yeah, a woman.
You would date me then.
Woman, yeah.
Go on, let's have a kiss.
And this is why this debate is so toxic. They're slowly moving the goalposts. In the beginning, they're slowly moving the goalposts. The left is moving the goalposts. They don't want to be treated like women. They want to be biological women. The usual weirdos on Twitter came after him. A trans woman quoted in this BBC article claimed he was ignorant for not wanting to kiss her. And they quote Dr. Leah Timmins, who says, being unwilling to date on the basis of someone being trans, rather on the basis of individual stimuli, is something I would personally call transphobic. Oh yeah, but Hunter has to downplay how insane the left has become. No one is saying this stuff, even though they are.
Last week, you said that the Olympics should be gender neutral.
Well, I still think it would solve a lot of problems.
It would solve zero problems.
It would solve so many problems.
And my point... And
I'm not a sports commentator.
Yeah, and listen, like, it doesn't matter really where you land on that. Saying that, like, the Olympics should be gender neutral is fucking stupid.
Yes, like most left-wing takes, it is pretty stupid. But that doesn't mean a lot of people on the left aren't trying to gaslight us into thinking it's true.
The idea that women are inherently worse at sports, and the fact that these women have totally bought into that, it just means that they've completely bought into the idea of male supremacy, even though, again, statistically, if you provide the same quality of coaches and equipment and training, there's barely any difference. There's really genuinely barely any difference. But people like Riley, women like Riley, would rather believe that she is fundamentally inferior, or she will pretend to believe that she is fundamentally inferior so that she can build a career on that.
We cannot pretend that there isn't a biological difference between males and females, especially when we're talking about adult athletes who have already gone through either a male or female puberty. This is going to have some effect on how well you can play some sports. Now, I also don't think it would be right to say trans people just shouldn't be allowed in sports. I think there's a lot of factors right now that need to be considered. And I think later on, it would be nice to change the categories away from gender and maybe start categorizing things more based on strength, because there are some strong women who are far stronger than men and vice versa. Why don't you have categories of just equally strong people or people that are around the same speed?
That would single-handedly destroy women's opportunity in sports. What a fucking stupid idea. If his low IQ idea were to come to fruition, men would dominate the top divisions of most sports. And we can use a specific example to picture how this would go. When Venus and Serena Williams claimed they could beat any male player ranked outside the world's top 200. So they played Karsten Brosch, who was ranked 203rd at the time. And well, he easily dominated both of them. Do you think these women would be on board with Hunter's system? They can either be the best female tennis player in the world or below 203rd. That would discourage women from even taking up sports in the first place. The best women of their respective sports would be lost in an ocean of male players who would dominate.
Why do we have to have a month of Pride?
Go ahead.
I don't really know. Why? Don't we have a whole month for veterans? Isn't there also like a whole month for men's mental health? There's a lot of months going on, pal.
A whole month? That's pretty generous, because sometimes even a day of men's mental health awareness gets cancelled by the left.
That transgender women are women.
This whole time, they're like, she hasn't said anything transphobic. And then she literally just said trans women are men. Literally denying a trans person's identity.
And this is the crux of the argument. We're not allowed to use a biological definition of woman. I don't think I'll ever get an answer to this question from a left-winger. Why is this definition being forced on us when the majority of people don't believe in it? 6 in 10 US adults say whether a person is a man or a woman is determined by their sex assigned at birth. So Riley's definition of man and woman is the one that's accepted by the majority of people.
Yes, trans women aren't women. That is a far-right thing to say, yeah.
Well, in that case, a majority of the population is far right.
Like literally throwing a temper tantrum over being called a cis woman? Yeah, that's far right. Only a far right baby bitch would get that fucking triggered over a definitional term.
Is it not you and the entire left that's triggered about the definition of woman?
If I now identify as a black man, am I a black man?
No, and here's the answer why. So, first and foremost, race and gender, they are both categories, but they're different kinds of categories. Gender refers to a socially constructed form of identity. Race is a little bit more complicated than that. Yes, it does carry with it an identity, but that identity is ultimately in regards to still how we would define color, how we see their skin color, etc., just like how we would kind of classify white people, right? So that is in relation to something else. In this case, it would be ethnicity or race, something like this. The category of gender, however, is a form of identity, and it is only a form of identity. And that ultimately goes back to their identity.
This is what happens when stupid people don't realize they're stupid. So if any of these alt-right losers thinks that this trans ideology is a load of made-up nonsense, you can just clearly explain to them that the category of gender is a form of identity, and that it is only a form of identity, and that ultimately goes back to their identity. As you can tell, this is very scientific. If you don't think that this is a woman, first of all, you're transphobic and you're probably going to jail, but you just don't understand that it's their identity, which is linked to their identity, which is fundamentally their identity. Who needs biology when you have identity?
Race is inherited, gender isn't. Yeah, exactly.
If self-identity is limitless,
because it's
I'm
race
now
is
a black
not
man
gender.
called Ernest.
Nobody saying that. See how they just strawman that? No one is saying that self-identity is limitless. Self-identity is still in relation to things. In the case of gender, your self-identity is in relation to a socially constructed form of gender that we all collectively more or less recognize.
Ah yes, we all collectively recognize this form of gender. Except for the majority of people, you fucking idiot.